Welcome back to another reading of The World Don't Know This Jesus. It is written by Samuel Harris, and it is the life story and true testimonies of Larry Goff and his family. And it's some amazing adventures that this man has had, some crazy adventures. And it's just incredible to see and uh, read these testimonies because we know that what God does for one, He'll do for another. That other is you and me. So today I'm going to be reading chapter 14. And as always, I let everybody know that I do have permission to record, to read these chapters and to record it as well. The family has given me permission. So chapter 14. I hope you've been enjoying these stories, and I hope that they are encouraging and building your faith. Lighten that fire. Got to stir up that fire in us. After returning from his trip to the Zombos, Larry made his way back to the small ranch outside of Managua where he had left Betty and the kids. As was often the case, this had not been an easy time for them. Betty remembers the people who operate the ranch as not being overly hospitable. She had to sleep in the pickup truck with smaller children, while Valerie was able to sleep in the house. The ranch was really just a small house with a few chickens, goats, and fruit trees. When Larry returned, he was called to make a short trip on horseback for about a week. Upon his return, he found Betty very ill. The ranch always seemed to be in short with food, and she had eaten some iguana that someone had killed. She had a serious allergic reaction to the iguana meat and became very ill, running a high fever. Larry knew that she needed medical attention, so he loaded the family into the truck and headed into Managua, praying as they went. The old truck did have a good air conditioner, which he set on high for the trip. Sitting in front of the air conditioner, Betty began to show signs of improvement. Arriving in the city, Larry found a place to buy some blocks of ice and packed it around his wife. In the morning, with the cooling effect from the ice and help from the Lord, Betty had completely recovered. Larry felt that the Lord was then leading them to move on. Before leaving Managua, Larry and Betty made an effort to get the churches in the city to come together in a central location to sing and worship the Lord. To their amazement, this was met with strong resistance. There was a strong sense of rivalry and resentment between the churches that could not be overcome. Interestingly, though years later they encountered some of the Christians from Managua who told them that was the communist influence from the Sandinistas increased and the persecution of the church grew. The name over the door of the church began to matter less and less. Eventually, it got to the point that Christians throughout Nicaragua and Latin America began to assemble wherever they could. The one thing that united them was the most important thing: faith in Christ. The next stop was in the city of Masaya, Masaya, just south of Managua. Larry was able to minister in that city in the plaza, but never really connected with the churches there. As it instructs in the Bible, if you are not received, shake the dust off and move on. And they did. Pushing further south, once again, a couple of tires blew out on the pickup. The roads were very hard on the tires, and these had taken a beating. Without a spare, Larry decided to keep driving on the flat tires and was soon down on the rims. As they continued to drive, the rims began to take on a square shape, and the vehicle was immobilized. The Golfs were once again stranded, but had not forgotten who their source was. As Larry sat in the pickup with his family on the road between Masaya and Mazatepes, he opened his Bible and began to read the family a story about Elisha the prophet. In 2 Kings 4, the story is told of a Shunammite woman who showed hospitality to the great prophet. She had not been able to have children, and Elisha prophesied to her that she would bear a son, which she did. In a strange and unusual way, the child later died. The woman naturally sought out Elisha, but answered inquiries about the child in a way that demonstrated great faith. When she sent her servant to ask Elisha to come, she instructed him to tell the prophet when he asked, "Is it well?" to answer, "All is well." As the Goff family sat in the disabled truck reading this account from the Bible, a man they didn't know pulled up beside them and asked if they needed help. Larry replied in the same way as the Shunammite woman and told the man, "All is well." As the man pulled away, Betty just looked at Larry and said, "What's wrong with you?" The only answer he could give was that he felt that was the response the Lord had told him to give the man. In a fairly short time, the man returned in a truck, not with 4, but 5 brand new wheels and tires for the truck. The family got out of the truck to check things out and couldn't believe their eyes. The Good Samaritan then told them that when he saw the situation and heard Larry's reply to his question, that he knew he was a man of God. He had brought everything needed to change the wheels and tires and then invited the whole family to follow him into Masatepe. The house he led them to would turn out to be one of the finest accommodations the Goffs would ever enjoy on their missionary journeys. And this man and his family were one of the most gracious hosts. All was well indeed. The Somoza family ruled Nicaragua from 1936 until 1974. It was Anastasio Cachito Somoza de Bail who was empowered from 1967 until 1972. Larry actually got to meet Somoza right after entering Nicaragua. When they crossed into the country at the border, the officials had taken his .22 rifle. It was in seeking to get this very special gun back when they got to Managua that Larry was taken to see Somoza. There was a great deal of security because of the communists, and Somoza was interested in everyone who came into his country. Larry found the man to be very friendly and actually a believer. He told Larry that they needed Christian missionaries. He also signed a form enabling Larry to retrieve his .22. The kind man who had rescued the Goffs and gave them housing for several weeks was one of Somoza's top men on the level of a senator or congressman. His house in Masatepe was truly a mansion with green marble floors and columns, gardens, and fountains. This man owned several businesses in the city, one of them being a tire store, which is the reason he was able to get the wheels and tires so quickly the Goffs needed. The Somoza family had strong ties to the United States government, but the poor and lower classes were not so favorable toward Americans. Larry would go out from the mansion on a daily basis, however, to minister to the poor and needy and proclaim the gospel. His host warned him, though, to stay in the house on All Saints' Day, which was a major holiday. Larry was warned that the people would drink throughout the day and parade statues around the city, which he knew Larry would object to. The man also told Larry that as an American, he might get shot, especially if he spoke out against what the crowds were doing. Of course, this warning did not deter Larry from taking to the streets that day. The Lord led him to a large Catholic church where he decided to sit and read from the Bible he carried. A little boy came in and sat next to Larry and began to ask questions about what he was reading. While he was telling the boy about the Bible, they were suddenly surrounded by a large group of people, mostly women. Once again, Larry was accused of not believing in the saints, and once again, Larry protested that he did and began to read from the Bible about some of them. Not knowing how to respond, the crowd took Larry to the priest. To his surprise, the priest was an American and, of course, spoke English. Larry was quick to confront the man about the false teachings of the church. The Bible is very clear about the worship of graven images. Larry bluntly told the priest that he would have to give an account to God. The priest did not deny anything Larry said, but insisted that it was his job to hold on to the Roman Catholic line and that he would lose his job if he didn't. He did, though, ask Larry to pray for his forgiveness. This was one of the few times that any Catholic official was receptive to anything Larry said. Even though this man knew the truth, his job was more important to him than teaching that truth. While in Mississippi, Larry met a Pentecostal preacher by the name of Cordoba. They became friends. This pastor also owned a shoe factory and showed great kindness to Betty and the kids by giving them some new shoes. The clothes and shoes they had been wearing since leaving the States were in very bad shape. The new shoes were called jellies and were made for the rough terrain there. These shoes were made of high-quality material and took care of them for the next several months. While ministering in the church, Larry discovered a bar down the street that he saw a great fishing hole. In other words, a great place to minister to people and proclaim the name of Jesus. In the back of the bar was a pool table, and Larry had played a little pool in his time, especially while in the Navy. There was a game going on where the winner would take on all challengers, but you had to wager, or you were out. When Larry's turn came to challenge the shark, who had been winning game after game, he told the man, "If I lose, I'll pay the bet. But if you lose, you must confess Christ as Lord." Larry had not seen the man lose, so this took a lot of confidence. The pool shark didn't know exactly how to respond to this unusual challenge, but the other men began to shout out to him not to back down from the American. Larry was allowed to break and ran the table. Larry said it was like the Lord just took over. Every shot he attempted found a pocket, even some crazy bank shots. After running the table, Larry got up on the table and began to preach to the crowd. The guy he had just beaten was under a lot of pressure to fulfill his end of the bet, but Larry made it very clear it was his choice. The bottom line was that Larry found a rare opportunity to use the pool table as a pulpit to preach from. When the ladies of the Pentecostal church heard where Larry had been and what he had done, they were seriously offended. Once again, the Goths were told that they were no longer welcome at a church. As was their custom, this was the signal that it was time to move on. It was tough to leave the comfort of the beautiful house and the kindness of their host, but the Lord's business took precedence. The Lord laid it on Larry's heart to head west toward the coast in search of fresh mission fields to continue proclaiming the good news. Just before they left Mazatepe, something happened that the whole family remembers. There was a beautiful German shepherd that had been the Goth's companion for this entire trip. Her name was Queenie, and she loved and watched over the children. When they had been in Chihuahua on their previous trip, they had purchased 2 silver German shepherd puppies, male and a female, which they named King and Queenie. Soon after, the male was stolen, but Queenie became the longtime family pet and the children's constant companion and guardian. One day, Valerie and Victor were out playing, and of course, Queenie was with them. Suddenly, a pack of stray dogs came running toward the children. Queenie immediately took on the whole pack and soon began to chase them away. As the pack ran toward a busy street with Queenie in hot pursuit, a truck hit and killed the beloved dog. It was like losing a family member for everyone in the Goff family, but especially Valerie and Victor. As I've sat with various members of the family and written thousands of notes on more than one occasion, it has been requested that I made sure Queenie was remembered. What a dog! But what a wonderful thing she did and can be remembered for. Of course, the most important thing is that God used this special creature of His to save the lives of 2 of His precious children. The Bible tells us that in eternity, the wolf will lie down with the lamb, so maybe, just maybe, that glorious place will also include a Queenie or 2. I sure hope so. This concludes the reading of chapter 14. It's amazing what God does. And if we just allow Him to move, get out of His way, just be obedient, just listen, Press on, endure. We will see miracle signs and wonders just like Jesus did in the Bible. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. What he does with one, he'll do for another and through another. That other is you. I pray that this is blessing you. Continue to return, share, subscribe to the channel, share with others, and also bless the golf ministry. Bless the golf ministry. Golfministries.org. You can order this book, or you can purchase it from Amazon. Be a blessing. Till next time.